She asked you if you were scared. You said no. She died 12 minutes later. That was the night the world ended. Not for everyone, not yet. But for you, the world ended on a suburban street, in the dark, with your daughter in your arms and nothing you could do about it. You were strong. You were capable. You were the kind of man who could handle things, and you could not handle this. Joel Miller is a survivor. That is the word people use. That is the category the world assigns him. Survivor. As if surviving is a neutral condition. As if surviving does not come with a price that compounds interest for 20 years. But here's the thing nobody mentions about Joel Miller's survival. He did not survive that night intact. Something in him, something central, something structural, died on that road with his daughter. What got up and kept walking was not the same thing that had been standing there before. And what replaced it is the subject of this story. Before the outbreak, Joel Miller was ordinary. Not in a diminished way, in the way that most good men are ordinary. He worked. He loved his daughter. He had a brother he was close to. He had the kind of life that does not seem like anything while you are inside it and becomes irretrievably precious the moment it is gone. He was a father. That was his primary identity. Not a career, not an ideology, not a particular set of skills. A father. Sarah was 12. She was perceptive and funny, and she bought her father a watch for his birthday with her own saved money because she noticed his was broken. Joel Miller was the kind of man whose daughter noticed when his watch was broken and did something about it. And then the fungus spread, and the world ended, and Sarah died, and the watch stopped mattering, and Joel Miller had to decide what to do with the rest of a life he had not planned on having without her. He made a choice, not a heroic one, a survival one. He locked the grief in a room inside himself, and he swallowed the key, and he became something that the new world had a use for. Useful in the new world means dangerous. Dangerous in the new world means effective. And Joel Miller became very, very effective. But here is what effectiveness costs when the thing you are effective at is violence. In a world that has collapsed into violence, you lose track of the line. The line between necessary and excessive. The line between defending yourself and becoming something that preys. The line between the man you were and the man you needed to become to keep existing. Joel Miller crosses that line, repeatedly, over 20 years. And he knows it. He knows it every time. He does not stop, because stopping would require feeling it, and feeling it would require opening the room with the grief in it. And he is not going to do that. Quarantine zones are not havens. They are not safe places where the remnants of civilization rebuild themselves with dignity. They are ecosystems of control, run by military enforcement, rationed food, forced labor, arbitrary violence from the people at the top, and relentless desperation from everyone at the bottom. Joel lives in the Boston QZ. He does what people in collapsed systems do to survive. He works in a black market. He smuggles. He deals. He does the things that the official system cannot provide and charges the price that the market will bear. He is not a villain in this economy. He is a function, a necessary one. But the work keeps him in contact with the worst of what people become when civilization stops enforcing the rules that kept the worst of them contained. He sees it daily. He participates in it. The man who was once a father watching his daughter sleep is now someone who can hurt people without flinching, because flinching costs you, and he has already paid too much. He has a partner, Tess. She's as hard as he is. Together they function well. Two people who have excavated their softness and replaced it with capability. They trust each other. In the world they inhabit, trust is the rarest resource. And then Tess dies, and Joel is alone again, which is where Joel Miller always ends up. Not because he drives people away, but because the world keeps removing everyone who gets close to him. The pattern repeats so many times over 20 years that isolation begins to feel like the natural condition rather than the consequence. You stop expecting people to stay when the world has made a pattern out of taking them. Ellie changes everything. And that is the precise problem. She is 14. She is immune, the only known immune human in the world. She needs to be transported to a Firefly outpost so her immunity can be studied and potentially weaponized into a cure. Joel is the one capable of getting her there. This is a job, an arrangement, a transaction. He does not want to care about her. He has been very deliberate about not caring about people, because caring about people means accumulating potential losses, and he has already lost more than a person can reasonably carry. But Ellie is relentless, not in an annoying way, in the way that young people who have never been allowed to shut down can be relentless. She talks, she asks questions, she pushes against his walls. And the walls, which have been maintained for 20 years, are not designed to withstand someone who finds the specific cracks that grief left behind. She starts to fill the shape that Sarah left, and Joel knows it, and he tries not to let it happen. And he fails. Not all at once. Slowly, over months of traveling through a world that is trying to kill both of them, in the small moments that accumulation creates, a joke that makes him respond without meaning to. A moment of genuine fear for her safety that gets past the controls. A sleeping face that looks not like Sarah, but like someone that he could lose. He cannot lose someone again. His entire psychological architecture since Sarah's death has been organized around this single imperative. And then they reach the end of the journey, and the Fireflies tell him what the cure requires. It requires Ellie's life. There are two ways to read what Joel does next. The first reading is the heroic one. He saves the girl he loves because she is a person and her life matters, and no cure justifies murder. The second reading is the honest one. Joel Miller cannot lose another daughter. He has already survived that once. He will not survive it again. And he is not sure. He may not have allowed himself to be sure. Which of those two things is driving the decision when he walks into that hospital? He destroys the cure. He takes Ellie. He lies to her about what happened. He tells her the Fireflies have found other immune people, that the cure wasn't viable, that she didn't need to sacrifice anything. He lies to the girl he loves to protect himself from having to live through her death. This is not a small lie. This is the foundational lie of the relationship that is the most important thing in his life. And somewhere in him, at some level of honest self-examination, he will not visit. He knows that. He did not save her for her. He saved her for himself. Because the version of the world where Ellie is dead is a world that Joel Miller cannot continue to exist in, and everything else is justification built around that central fact. He is not a villain. He is a man with a grief wound so deep and so old that it made a decision before his conscious mind could weigh in. And Ellie, slowly, figures it out. By the second game, Joel Miller has something approaching a life again. A community. People who know his name for reasons other than what he can do for them. A woman named Ellie who is not his daughter but plays guitar with him and argues with him and calls him out when he is being difficult and chooses daily to stay. He has come further than anyone who knew him in the dark years would have predicted. And then he is killed by someone who had every reason to kill him in a moment that takes less than 2 minutes and undoes everything the first game built. The man who spent 20 years making himself into something that could not be killed because it could not afford to lose anything is killed in front of Ellie. And the specific cruelty of it is not the death itself. It is the timing. It is that he had just enough life rebuilt, just enough relationship repaired, just enough future visible. And the world that Joel Miller moved through, the world that had been taking things from him since that suburban road, found the precise moment when he had something worth taking again. Joel Miller survived the end of the world. He survived 20 years of violence and loss and moral compromise and isolation. He survived the guilt of what he did to save the girl he loved. He did not survive the consequence of the life he lived before he met her. He had no name on any monument. He left no cure. He left a girl who loved him holding the specific grief of someone taken before the repair was finished, before she could say the things that needed to be said, before the lie was fully forgiven, before they got the time that the journey promised them. You want to know what Joel Miller's life cost? It cost him the chance to see if it was worth it. He never found out. The watch ran out before he got the answer.